What is up, traders? Welcome to the official Trade Talk channel, where I show you how I analyze price for the most consistent and higher probable entries to help you guys become better traders. In today's video, we will be discussing Bitcoin, what it did last week, and what we can be looking for in the week to come. Now, last week's video was pretty much only negative and bearish, as that's all I seen on the charts. We do have a bit of different things happening right now. We do have more data, so we can infer potentially seeing a bounce in this video. So we will talk about the bullish and the bearish side. So let's dive into the charts. All right, so here on the monthly time frame, you can see the level that is on everybody's mind. It is the monthly support level at $38,491.93. Now that price may differ depending on what exchange you are looking at. This is the Coinbase exchange. Basically, today is going to be the monthly close for the spot market. Yesterday, we did get a monthly close on the CME chart. We will talk about that next, but right now we're just going to look at this and be brief. This is the level that we are looking for Bitcoin to close below. If you're bearish, if you're bullish, you want this thing to close above. The CME chart did close above its monthly support, but we could get clarification on today's spot close. So we are going to be watching this thing all day long. We also do have the 21 exponential moving average still trending right there under price. If we do get a close at the low or lower, you will have closed below that 21 exponential moving average, and you will have closed below that support. And then we could potentially see a range expansion to the downside on a pretty big monthly candle. So this is a very important candle. You can see that once this monthly support was put in, once we made the new all-time highs and rolled over and had a 3-month period where we were straight down, you have been trading sideways at that area, at that price. So for 4 months, 4 months, this thing has been trading at and bouncing from this support. This month, you did trade well below that support level, but closed above and closed bullish on the month. The next month after that, you traded all the way back down, tested support, and then got your bullish break. This was when we put in new 2022 yearly highs, as this candle is your yearly opening range. So this candle's open is the yearly open, and this candle's high was the yearly high. So you do have fresh 2022 highs on Bitcoin, but the problem is as soon as you did that, you rolled over. So that's why we have been bearish on Bitcoin since this candle happened, all right? And as you can see now, here we are back again at this support, which does infer, instead of Bitcoin becoming bullish again and reaching for new all-time highs, it does look like this thing wants to put in a little bit more of a bear market push and potentially look for those bear market lows. All right, so here we are on the CME monthly chart. You can see here, this is where we got a little bit of confusion going on the CME chart on the TradingView website. It's because we have two closing prices. The actual CME closing price is $38,555. That is the last price. That's your closing price, and this is the CME website. So that is the legit closing price. We did get that price on the hourly chart, but here on the monthly chart, we got a closing price of $38,285, which is lower than support, but unfortunately, we have to go by what the CME says, and the CME says that the close was at $38,555. Yesterday was the closing of the CME markets, as they do not trade over the weekend, and since the monthly close is going to transpire on today, which is Saturday, that means yesterday's closing price on the CME is your monthly close. All right, so let's go over here to the hourly time frame, and I will show you here at the very last hour on the day, you finally got back above the monthly support. When we put in this move here and then rolled over right to monthly support on CME, this is basically when I was like, yeah, you're probably going to see that close below. And unfortunately, on the last hour of the day, you got this last bullish candle that closed back above. So that makes it a little bit iffy, right? You technically did not close below support. There you can see on the hourly time frame, $38,555. That lines in perfectly with the CME chart or the CME website. So that is your closing price. That is above monthly support on the CME chart and above the 21 exponential moving average on the CME chart. So those are two things that you could take and tuck into your bullish folder if you wish. All right, back over here to the spot market. This is the daily time frame. Since I basically was talking about you putting the bullish scenario in your folder, if you're bullish on Bitcoin and you want to remain bullish on Bitcoin, then in fact, this is an area that you should be paying attention to. Over here on the weekly, I'll put a line here just to mark weekly support right there. You can see that was tested and you did get a bounce. And if we go back over to the daily time frame, you can see that that weekly does also correspond with daily support, but you do have a daily support right here as well. That looks like the last 2 days as tested and have been unable to break down below. So that could infer that you are indeed looking for a small bounce out of this area. Now, if you pay attention over here, you can see that every single bullish bounce Bitcoin has had, it has been sold into, and the bounces are getting shallower as the bears just start slaughtering these highs. This is why support is why this thing is having such a difficult trouble of breaking down. If it does break down, I am expecting a pretty decent sized move to the downside, as if you do break down and you do exceed demand at these prices, that could make a nice expansion lower, but it is stalling at support. Another thing that could be a little bit on the bullish side is the Dxy chart. Now, Bitcoin is traded as a currency against the US dollar. As you can see, the dollar absolutely started to soar like the eagle we thought it would be once you got above that resistance level, and boom, shakalaka to the upside. You have been going. The first week of the breakout wasn't that intense, very small ranges, but last week you started to see that bullish momentum start to gain speed, start to gain traction as these shorts were starting to get squeezed. If Bitcoin is stronger than the dollar, however, and the dollar is moving higher, then Bitcoin won't go lower. So what I'm trying to show you is, even though we've seen this massive range expansion on last week's range, with the bullish momentum firing up and making bigger and bigger candles as the week went on, Bitcoin was not doing that to the downside, right? So here is the Euro chart. This is what Bitcoin should have looked like last week, but it doesn't. It looks like this. So what that does look like to me is that people are indeed buying this. We know they're not buying on exchange because we have Glassnode data that tracks exchanges. So we understand that people are not accumulating big positions on the exchanges, but somebody is buying this because it is being propped up. You should have seen an expansion to the downside at an exponential rate like we've seen the dollar moving higher. So this could have a little bit of bullish implications to it. If the demand outweighs supply here, you're going to see a bounce, and that bounce is going to stop out a ton of short sellers. All right, so here is the Glassnode futures short liquidations. Basically, anytime you get a spike in price, you're going to see short liquidations occur. Here was a tiny little spike, just a 1 day spike to the upside, and look at the massive amount of short liquidations that occurred. So what I'm trying to say is, if we get a big spike to the upside, we're probably going to see a short liquidation spike much larger than this, and that could add fuel to the fire for the upside. All right, now here is the Bitcoin accumulation trend score. This is the data that they take from exchanges. White shows you that people are accumulating or buying Bitcoin. The darker colors show you that there isn't any accumulation taking place. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's selling. It just means there isn't much buying going on. And since April the 19th, you can see these colors have been really, really dark. Not a lot of accumulation going on. So the fact that Bitcoin is struggling at support, and we can see that there isn't any accumulation happening on exchange, that tells us right there that people are buying Bitcoin. They're doing it off exchange. The same way Michael Saylor purchased all his Bitcoin as to not make price fluctuate. Well, billionaires can be doing the same thing, and that is why Bitcoin is having trouble going lower. Now, that is pure speculation on my part. Here is one last thing that could be looked at as a potential bullish pop, and that is the futures open interest. So typically when you have prices moving up and the open interest starts to go higher, that could be indicative of shorts getting into the market. Typically when open interest is trending to the downside, that's more bullish than bearish. Not always, but in a lot of cases. And since price is going lower, you can see the open interest is going lower with price. So it's not like the shorts are loading the boat here on this move lower. This could be indicative of a pop incoming on Bitcoin. Now, whether or not that pop gets sold into like all the other pops have recently, that's a whole nother story, but it does look like it is looking for a pop. All right, so for anybody that's new to the channel and haven't been following me recently, the reason I have a target much lower is simply because of this gap right here. This is a massive, massive gap that was never retested or filled on the CME chart. And typically gaps will get filled. There are several US indices that have massive gaps lower that have never been filled. So I'm not saying that this is an an end-all be-all signal to look for lower prices on Bitcoin to see that fillage. What I'm simply saying is that there is a massive gap down there, and if we keep seeing what looks like weaker and weaker price action, then we do get that massive move lower, then we will be looking for a potential target of 26K. That will also bring in a beautiful, perfect area to buy according to the MVRVZ score. Let me stretch this out to all. Basically looking for this orange line to get back down into the green zone. And as you can see over here, let's pull this in. You can see that this is our price action that is occurring right now, and it does look like it is looking to break down. Now, a fillage of that CME 26K gap would put Bitcoin's price down into this green zone on the MVZ score indicator. We're going to look for that to happen. It doesn't mean it will, it's just something to look for. Anytime Bitcoin has been in the red, that's typically been when you wanted to take profits, and you did get up there in the red on this first push above 40K. So ever since then, you can see that this indicator has been looking like it wants to go lower. And even though we did get this higher price, this move up in a new all-time high, this move was fueled entirely by the B-Word podcast and as well as a new futures ETF that was opened in the US. So I think that was the fuel for that rally. This was your high. This is when the bear market really started. The MVZ score also shows that to us. So we are looking for a little bit lower prices in the long term, but this can take several months to play out. Doesn't have to play out, but it could. This is where I want to be a buyer on Bitcoin, is when we get down into these regions. That gap on the CME chart will be filled. Another reason to start to look to accumulate more Bitcoin. All right, so here we are back on the spot chart. Just briefly, I'm going to pull up the Bollinger Band indicator. Now, I don't use many indicators other than exponential and simple moving averages and the RSI, but every now and then I will look at the Stokes and a few other indicators. Now, something that was brought up to me today is you can take this Bollinger Band, and it is just the Bollinger Band. So you just type in Bollinger Band here if you want to put it on, and you want to use this one, nothing on it. This is the actual indicator, so we'll put a star there so that way it makes it easier to pull up. If you come over here to the settings cog, and right here on time frame, you can actually pin this indicator to show you what it looks like on a specific time frame. Since I only care about indicators on the daily time frame, I have pegged this one to the daily. All right, so that means if I go into an intraday chart, the Bollinger Band will be still setting where it is setting on the daily. So here we are on the hourly, and this is your same daily Bollinger Band. Now this tells a pretty good story to me, as this is when you started to roll over, and you can see that we have tested that monthly support many times, and the bounces are getting smaller, so that could indicate that this level is going to break soon. But I just thought it was cool. Nick brought it up to me, showed me how to do it, and he said that Brandon from Crypto Trades and Tech showed him, and I just thought I would show you guys. If you guys are new and you want to use indicators, some of them will give you the opportunity in the settings cog there to basically pin it to the daily, and that can help you if you are looking at intraday charts to know where that thing is on the daily. Price is struggling to get below that Bollinger Band on the daily, and since the upper line is curved to the downside, it does look like this trend is going to continue, and we are going to get that bounce or that push lower pretty soon. So we will be watching the close today, as Saturday is the close for the monthly range on the spot market, and I am looking for this thing to be closing a little bit lower, or much lower would be better for me since I am short, below that 38,491.93 level. One last thing here. All right, one last thing here is the line chart. Now the reason I'm using the line chart is to show you that this pattern, this consolidation down here, has indeed been broken down. There are several really long wicks down here that price obviously has not broken below yet, but on a closing basis, on a candle closing basis, this pattern, no matter how you draw it, has been broken down. This pattern has been broken down. You did retest it, you did get that expansion lower, and you are right now at monthly support. So we are looking for this to continue, as this was your last bullish pop. You had another small bullish pop, but that smaller pop was sold into, and it does look like this looks like price is droopy. So it does look to me like this thing is going to roll over. And this line chart shows you that pattern has been broken down. I don't care if you want to call it an ascending channel, a descending wedge, or whatever you want to call it, a bear flag. I myself don't look at it as a bear flag anymore. I myself look at it as an ascending channel because that's typically what it is. it has been broken down on the daily closing basis. So that's not so bullish. So in summary, we are looking for the bulls. They will be looking for this level to hold. They will be looking for price to bounce out of this region. For the bears, you want to see this thing close below monthly support today, as today is that monthly close. And it would be a lot better if it could close below the 21 exponential moving average as well, as then we could look for a pop to sell into. So here are your 3 daily resistance levels. At any of these 3 levels, you could see another selling opportunity. Right here for the near term is going to be daily supplies. So that's 39,251. It does look like these bounces have already been tested. Here was a test of resistance there. This resistance level was not tested since the push lower. So if we did get a push up to 41.5, I would definitely be still looking to load up on short positions there. But you may not get that. You may just get a test of 39,251 and roll over. And it might come in today or tomorrow as daily support, setting at about 38,119. So what we're going to be looking for next week, come Monday, maybe even Tuesday, is a bullish pop up into 39,251. And if that area acts as resistance on the intraday charts, we will be looking to put on a new short position. I hate putting on a new short position this low down at support, as my cost basis just keeps getting lower and lower, but the cost basis up here has been wrecked. So I have to do what I have to do. I am expecting lower prices, so I will continue to trade this asset that way until I see obvious bullish signals. And the first thing to look for me is going to be a test above the 21 exponential moving average. And since I just accidentally deleted my indicators, I got to go over here to this chart to pull up that over here. So let's get rid of the Bollinger bands and let's pull up the 21 exponential. But we want to close everything except the 21, as to not confuse anybody, as that yellow line is your 21. And on the daily time frame, I only look at your daily time frames. So that 21 exponential moving average has basically been caressing those highs, and that could be another potential opportunity as well. But it does look like this thing is getting ready to roll over, guys. So make sure you buckle up. Your daily RSI is still got plenty of room to go before this thing is looking at daily oversold levels. Your Stokes are basically at the daily oversold region once again. So yeah, I mean, this thing could technically bounce out of here soon, but we'll see what happens. If you learned anything in this video, make sure you crush that like button for me, as it does help. And if you are not yet, make sure you subscribe. I am trying to get up to 10,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your time. Make sure you trade safe, make sure you trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.